First of all, I want to thank you guys for letting us come out here and listen to your stories and ask you some questions. We're really excited to get these interviews on the record. Sherry was also really helpful in getting this organized, so she's going to kind of help us in questioning you guys and trying to hear some of your stories for the war.
Thank you very much for consenting. I want to say first, we are at the American Legion 197. Address is 2179 Benedict Road, Jacksonville, Florida, 32209. The date is November the 15th, 2016. The day is Tuesday. And we will be interviewing 3 men this afternoon, 3 very special men who have given their lives and devoted their lives to our American history by being members of Montford Point Marines, Chapter 29 in Jacksonville, Florida. This is a post, and the post number for this group has been very active in keeping the history of the Marines alive. First, we will speak with each one of you for 2 to 3 minutes. And what we would like for you to do is just give us a background as to who you are. And that would include your name, your birthday, and by the way, we do have a birthday today that we will celebrate in a little while. And also, we would introduce the various people who are involved in the interview. My name is Sherrod Dupree. I am from Gainesville. I work with the Oral History Project. I'm a retired librarian from the University of Florida and also retired from Santa Fe College in Gainesville. And
my name is Venetia Pons. I'm originally from Seattle. I am a research assistant at the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program. I'm pursuing my PhD in anthropology.
My name's Mike Barry. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts originally. I'm also a research assistant specifically in production and technology.
Hi, I'm Raja.
And
your last
you have
name
to say your last name because this is tape.
Raja Rahim.
She's a graduate coordinator at Samuel Proctor Oral History Program.
And we have a very special guest who's responsible for getting all of this done for us today, Mr. Ron Jackson.
Yes, ma'am.
And would you say a little bit about who you are so we can have it on tape?
My name is Ron Jackson. I'm a retired Marine of 21 years, currently the chapter president of Chapter 29 here in Jacksonville, Florida, and a past commander of American Legion 197.
And we have one other person who is in the audience today, and we would like for him to say who he is and his ranks.
My name is Sally Williams. I'm the past commander of American Legion Post 197. I'm a chartered member of Chapter 29, born and raised right here in Jacksonville, and I came in the Marine Corps as a staff sergeant, Vietnam vet, 4 years of service.
We want to thank you so much for being a part of our audience today. Thank you.
If you want to interject anything or ask any questions, please feel free to do so.
We would appreciate it. Thank you. We will start. Let's start with Mr. Leroy Jones. I got a chance to talk to Mr. Jones before we came in the building today. Oh, yes. I'm sorry, I'm the right. And Mr. Jones, what we would like for you to share with us is your date of birth, your parents' name. All of you would do the same. Your children and family. Just a little background information. We just call that your bio.
My name is Leroy Jones. I was born February the 15th, 1930 in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yes.
Well, I have a wife. We have 5 children here. 4 boys and 1 girl.
And your wife's name?
My wife's name is Joyce Jones.
All right, and your children's name?
Our children's name, I got one is Carl Vincent, Oscar Lavelle, Gregory Jones, Sheila Jones, and Calvin Jones.
Thank you. All right, so the next person that we will speak to is Mr. Gainous. Mr. Gainous, would you share that same information?
My name is Alpha Gainous, born in Jacksonville, Florida, November the 15th, 1924. Day is my birthday.
Yes.
92 years of age.
Beautiful.
My mother, Estella Gainous, she died about 41 years ago. My two sisters, Bessie Gainous, Alpha Gainous, older than I, they was born and lived in Jacksonville and graduated from the colleges of Jacksonville, Edward Waters. My daughter's name is Alpha Hay, graduated from the University of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you. And our third gentleman, would you please share with us your basic information?
My name is George McIvory.
Yes, Mr.
I'm a Jacksonville resident and born here. My birth date is November the 15th, 1925, which I am 91 today.
Absolutely.
My mother was Nora Fulton, and my father was James McIvory. And my mother, at least my wife, was Eugenia McIvory, and she passed in 81, which I miss her very much.
I'm sure. And your children?
Oh, I have one daughter, Gail Denise Newman, who reside in New Jersey, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And I have three granddaughters and 6 great-grands, which are 3 girls and 3 boys. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Let me just ask one general question. From your early family members, did anyone talk about living during the time of slavery or living on plantations here in the state of Florida?
No.
No. All righty.
You live in the city, and you live under those with certain conditions wherein you could not. The schools were segregated.
Yes.
And also all the restaurants and the movies, everything was segregated. Because if you went to the movie, if it wasn't a black theater, if it was in especially a smaller town, they had their sitting capacity upstairs. And but if you were but with us in Jacksonville, we was a little more progressive than some of the real rural or smaller areas. We at that particular time, they had mostly their own. We were more self-contained within the community because they had businesses, and we didn't have to go to the other side of town or white because we could get everything we wanted, usually. But however, as progress began to go up, advance rather, there was then they found a way to divide you and make everything turn it around by putting in the superhighways and all. So that takes your property because the expressway came right over my father's house properties, and he had to sell because my father he owned his he was a shoe repairman. He owned his shoe shop, the Economy Shoe Shop, and then also during the war, he repaired all the soldiers' shoes at Camp Lejeune. You know.
So out at Camp Lejeune.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Which
so,
was at Stark, Florida.
yes, that was in Stark, Florida, over in Bradford County.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, and this is beautiful history that you're sharing with us. The other two gentlemen,
All right.
would you like to say a little bit more about your early life here in Jacksonville?
My mother and father was born in West Florida,
Okay.
Quincy.
Oh, yes.
They lived in a time, as Booker T. Washington said, up from slavery. My grandfather was a school teacher, taught in an old wooden school in Quincy, Florida. And also, I never understood, they never told me why he only had one arm. And he worked in a grocery store. And they have a book written about them called Jackson County.
Gaston County.
Jackson County, yes.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing that.
And my grandfather, he made fingers. I was quite a small lad when my grandfather died, but my great grandfather I never met. They said that he was made shingles, and I know very little about any of the Mill family because my father himself died when I was about 4 years old. I was raised by strong black women. Never had much to eat. Looked like they was getting me ready for Montford Point.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Would you like to share more?
Well, I don't remember too much. My mother and father passed when I was very young. My grandmother raised me and sent me to school and took care of me. That's all I can. My grandmother and father, I don't remember too much about.
Okay, Mr. Jones. Thank you so much for sharing, because this is early history and it can help us so much as we do genealogy.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was the town that you were born in?
Beg your pardon?
What was the town that you grew up in?
Right here in Duval County.
Okay.
In Jacksonville.
Right.
Okay, so all of you, Jacksonville. Okay.
Well, yes.
That's just
Okay, thank you for that aspect. Now we want to move into another portion where we will be able to share questions, and you can talk in a group. So we will ask you questions, and then whoever cares to respond, that will be fine. The first question that we had on our sheet dealt with, how did you feel when you went into the military? What did it do for you when you went into the military? It seems as if you volunteered to go. Is this correct? So, since you volunteered to go in there, what did you expect? We got a little bit of that already, one of you expressed, but how did it make you feel?
What were your
did you do?
expectations?
Yes.
Going in.
Well, when I was about 16 years of age, I always wanted to be a cook, a chef cook, a baker, and a butcher. And when I first began my high school studies, I was so poor, poorer than poverty. And I needed a job after school to help me along. So then, in order to get to the bigger shop that I was being trained, I had to catch the bus. And one particular day, at the bus stop, I saw a young white lad had a red, white, and blue uniform on. I already knew that he was a part of the armed service, but yet and still, I never dreamed of Marine Corps. I never heard of the Marine Corps. I knew the khaki uniform was for the Army. I knew the bell-bottom breeches was for the Navy, but I never dreamed there was a branch of service called the Marine. So, getting up nerve, I asked this young fella what branch of service, and he said Marine. He was getting on the bus and hollered back to me, Marine, and I said to myself, then I would like to wear that uniform. And I vowed that I would wear it, but never knew that I wasn't even allowed to wear the uniform. Then one day, when I got home, I found a letter saying greeting. There's great draft being to the Army, and I begged for the Marine Corps. And when I got to Montford Point, it was in the middle of the night, and I never knew what the camp looked like until the next morning. And the next morning when I saw the camp, I actually cried.
I'm sure. This is a beautiful story.
I actually cried. And I begged God, if you help me out of this, I will never make that mistake again. But he never helped me out. And I grew to love the camp. And I grew to know that I must do everything in my power to make it better. In 1943, we broke records there. And 1943, I was off to war.
I hear you. Well, we'll be coming back to you to talk a little bit about Tuskegee and your health service and some other things. But let's move in and have one of the other gentlemen to tell us a little bit about how they felt when they got into the Marines. Who wants to go first? Mr. Jones?
Mr. Jones.
Mine is a little different from his. I know back in the 40s there, I had a part-time job going to school and working afternoons and Saturday delivering Western Union. So at that time, the recruiting station was down there in the post office where I used to deliver at, and I became friendly with one of the guys down there, you know, and he would be riding with his old blues on and everything, looking clean like. So I said, well, boy, that ought to be a nice thing to do. Instead of me hustling around here with these Western Union. So he finally talked me into joining. I wasn't but 16 years old. So he said, well, just bring me a birth certificate. At that time here, we didn't have no typewriters and all that stuff, you know, and I went down in the city hall down there and told them, look, I need a birth certificate. They said, when were you born? I said, so and so and so. Put my age up, went back to the post office and gave it to the recruiting. And they sent me to North Carolina. Like Gaynor said, when I got there, it was around midnight or something. It was dark, we couldn't see anything, and didn't know what was happening. It was raining. Poor little fella like me. I said, well, I'm going to make the best of it. And I did for 3 years. So that's about the size of it.
I hear you. Well, that was a wonderful story as well. Now, Mr. McIvory, how did you feel?
Well, for me, I was in my last year of high school,
Okay.
but I had went during the summer. I would go to summer school to get extra credits. So really, it was good for me because as soon as I became 18, there was a greeting waiting on me, you know. So, well, I did get my diploma, although I wasn't at home at that particular time because I was immediately sent to sent to Camp Lejeune rather. And so at the induction center, I was asked, I said, they asked you what branch of service you prefer. And well, I said Army because I wanted to go to Europe to see the castles and all, you know. And the man looked at me, and the recruiter looked at me, and I imagine I must have weighed about 140 pounds, maybe most. So he stamped on the card, Navy or Marines. And I looked at the card, but you know, they move you on. So I say, well, I didn't know anything about the Marines, but I soon found out. I say, well, Marines, and my reason for not wanting to go in the Navy is because I thought I would have had to wash those white trousers that, you know, the uniforms that we was wearing. But lo and behold, when I arrived at the Marine Corps installation, which was Camp Lejeune, which was Montford Point, the rest of the name, but it was on the grounds of Camp Lejeune. But it was segregated, I found out. I say, well, where's the other Marines? Well, they were across the river over there. That's where they trained at. So, well, I got my awakening. As usual, we arrived at night. They really make you see exactly, or give you a shock. And that shock was what I saw that particular, on arrival, I say, I must be made a mistake. I'm in the wrong place. But however, being young as I was, I feel that everything was a challenge to me. So I was one that I didn't believe in giving up. So, but prior to that, so not knowing anything about the Marines, when Pearl Harbor, the bombing of Pearl Harbor, that particular morning, I lived in the project, and I was just going behind to the playgrounds around there, and my assistant scoutmaster came out and said he bombed Pearl Harbor. I said, well, what is that? Nobody didn't know anything about Pearl Harbor. So immediately I went home, got in my books and reading to find out, and then eventually I say, well, oh, that's over in the Pacific, in the Hawaii Islands. So I became interested because I'm a great reader. So he eventually, right away, he went into the Marines. And so, well, when he came home, I saw him. It was good enough for him. And he looked good and smart in his greens. So, well, I was, I believe that's what kind of made me say, well, that was all right when they inducted me, you know. I saw him, and he looked good. So, eventually, the service that we got in the Marine Corps is nothing like it in the world. So it's the discipline and the training, and there's no match for it.
I hear you. You even showed that today when we came in the doorway. You waited until the ladies came in. You gentlemen would not come in that door until we came in.
You should have seen the sharp corner he made when he was marching out of his car.
Yes.
They were scared. They were scared.
So we respect that highly.
So, you know, all of you talked about arriving at this camp at night, and and then in the morning, what you saw. So what did the camp look like? What did you see? Were there buildings or?
Huts.
Huts?
There was huts. They looked like really when you got to see them actually in the daytime, it looked like cardboard huts to me. But those huts was there because during when it was things was hard, and they had the men was out of work, so that's where the Conservation Corps came in, the CCC. So we had those men. To me, was like the forerunner of the Army, because when the war broke out, those men, what they would do, it was almost military trained in a sense of like drilling, because they would stay on that base for every week. They come home on the weekend. Mm-hmm. And on the week, and what they would do, they had drills. They would drill them to the chow hall and whatever like that. And they was using the vehicles they rode in. They was of Army, you know, and so they used those men really to give them work. The government did, so they could they would have money for their families. You know, that was a way of it was like things were just hard, and so they would stay there, and they would build fire breaks in the forest, and they would build bridges, learn to build bridges. And roads, and that's what they used them for, and that was to help. And so that's what. So when the war broke out, it was easy to kind of turn those men over, basically.
Turn that camp over right into a military camp.
Yeah, well, to assimilate them into the military.
Sure.
You know.
So, what did you tell us what boot camp was like?
When I woke up that morning, I seen a horror that I've never seen before in my life. Mosquitoes and every type of bug that you can imagine. Then there was crawling things. Bugs, snakes, and the living condition was ruins. we had to rebuild the living conditions. And to me, it was like, in as horrible as Jacksonville was at that time, but it seemed as if I woke up in hell.
Wow.
That's about all the sight that I seem to can recognize after 70 years ago, or 71 years ago.
Do you want to tell us about how the camp looked to you? Were they right? Was it full of bugs and?
Oh yes, like you said, with bugs and mosquitoes and snakes and all kinds. But the really part, what I didn't care for is sometime at 4 or 5 o'clock reveille in the morning, drill instructor would come in and, all right, you so and so hit the deck. Oh, boy, I'm trying to get a nap over there. And when we fall out, then if you didn't fall out in the company street, somebody would always be lagging around sleeping. If you didn't get him up, you had to wake your partner up along with you. Other than that, sometimes he was a drill instructor would make us bring our locker box out of the foot lockers, put them on the shoulder, talk about drilling you. And you, Molly locker hitting into him and he was hitting me. And that was pretty rough out there for me. Then when we would do that, we'd have to run to the mess hall in the morning to get chow.
We run everywhere.
When we get to the chow hall, we couldn't have nothing with no black, we could have black coffee, but no sugar, no cream. You got oatmeal and no sugar. All that was the sugar, so they say, was affecting your eyesight when you go to the rifle range. So when you got through with that delicious breakfast, you had to come outside and stay in formation until the whole other 36 or whatever, 40 people in the platoon finished up and come out. Then we had to double time back to the area, clean the area up, fall out then with your rifle and drill. And sometimes we'd have a class and they would go set us down in the boondocks out there. And we would go through the different chapters of the book and everything and come back in the afternoon. Well, first we would go to chow, then we would have to get your dungarees. You had a scrub brush, you wash it, go down, take your shower, and then you had to scrub all your clothes you had on all day, get them ready for the next day. So, but I respect and learn a lot for being in there because, you know, like, you learn discipline and how to respect one another, especially the DI. If you didn't respect him, boy, he was something else.
So all the people that were over you, training you in boot camp, these are all white men?
No.
They're all black men?
We had black DIs, but all the officers were white. And we didn't have any white officers. Any black officers, we had white officers, even the second lieutenants, just out of OCS would come out there, he'd put him in like he about 18, 19 years old. He's second lieutenant, bars on his shoulder. He struts around like a peacock, you know. We didn't have any black officers there. Not at that time. Now we had some now and later on, but at that time we didn't have any.
So when you say that you built the camp, when that is said, what is meant by that?
What's that?
Built the camp?
Yeah.
The buildings? So
Yeah.
what is
Not the building. We didn't build the camp. We renovated the camp.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's just an error. So to say we built the camp, but we renovated.
So you fixed those huts up?
Huh?
You fixed the huts up?
Yeah, because they were nothing. There was nothing much to them left.
Things that needed to be
Yeah,
fixed.
yeah. We had to renovate it. Yeah.
So you all had the skills to fix the camp.
Mm-hmm.
You had the skills. You knew how to do it. Who showed you how to prepare and fix
In the
things?
construction?
Well, usually
We were black. We were black. Listen, we were black. Born in the United States of
I
America,
know.
in the deep, deep South. We was very poor.
I understand.
All right. So we had to learn at an early age
How to spell.
to survive. So that's what we did at Montford Point.
So you're
Go ahead. You want to tell them?
No, I just say, well, basically we are survivors to a degree wherein they had to.
Go on.
Wherein they would have say the working parties. Well, first they would come out and say, well, they need not to volunteer right away. We learned that. I learned that almost the beginning of the first night when they say, well, we need some truck drivers or something. If you volunteer, you find yourself pushing a wheelbarrow. Things like that, But that makes you cautious and to think, see? But the point about building the camp, well, they find that amongst the African Americans, they are skilled, because they are skilled from you can look back to slavery and the things that how they survived. Mm-hmm. Well, those things come naturally with a person if they have a desire to want to live. See, so in other words, we learn how to make do until things either get better or the time presents itself that we make it better. Mm-hmm. See.
And you wanted to share something with them?
Yeah, I'm Holly William, Vietnam vet who went to Paris Island in '67. Brother Gainous and Brother McIvory and Brother Jones shared some information with me about not only did they help renovate this camp, but at the same time, they would go to Camp Lejeune, take a shower. After the white fellas took a shower, after the white fellas ate, then they ate. Am I right? This information Brother Gainous shared with me, they had to go through all during their training. Mm-hmm. So anytime that they want to shower, they eat, they had to go after the white folks eat, after the white folks shower.
I hear you. Thank you
Well,
so much.
they had a separate facility. See, we were allowed to go to the main base, Camp Lejeune, there for work because we were in a depot. At least I was in a depot company. See, which is it's like handling ammo, loading ships, and so forth, and all that for others. So when we go over to train over there, how to embark and debark on the ships, they would, when we chow time come and we had to go to the mess hall, they had a designated section in the mess hall where we couldn't go to any seat in the mess hall. See, we all had to go to this area in the mess hall that they had designed for us to sit in.
So you all came prepared from home and from just living, and you were able to survive and make things work for you. The next concern, did you all handle any weapons? I heard you talk about ammunition, but did you handle weapons? Did they teach you how to use the guns?
Yes, we had modern weapons. We had rifles.
You had rifles?
First we had the SWC. When I first started training in boot camp, we had what they call was an 03 Springfield automatic rifle, which they come out later with the M1 rifle, and they took the 03s from us and made us train with the M1s. And about 2 weeks before you finish your basic training, they would send us to Camp Lejeune for the rifle range out there, see, and we would fire the rifles there, and you could get whether you was a marksman or just what you call it, maggot soul?
Maggot roll.
I didn't you put the end of it there.
So you did have that right, and the M1 you said was the rifle that you all were trained on.
Well, it started with the M03 rifle, but the 03 became obsolete, so they used the M1.
To bring you up to standard. All right, so now tell us, is there anything that you really enjoyed about being down there in the Marines and in the Camp Lejeune area and Jacksonville area that was called?
Oh, I want to know. So, Saturday nights, did you guys go out?
Yeah.
Did you leave the base? And have fun. No?
You can leave the base, but in Jacksonville, North Carolina,
one street you can go on.
It was worse than the camp was, because you had dirt roads and all that stuff up there in North Carolina.
There wasn't any black USO or whatever it is.
They had one little building about the size of this building here, right in here in Jacksonville, there was USO. The rest of them was bell joints and like that, you know, speakers. So, but
And when these gentlemen are in basic training for 13 weeks, there's no Saturday nights, there's straight training. So once basic training is complete, there's an opportunity, if they get stationed there, that now they may have some liberty to go out in town, but as Mr. Jones stated, the climate at that time was not conducive for them to be out in town.
Yes. We've got something special to show you. What is this coming to the table today?
that's a replica of a rifle.
That's, to me, that looked a replica of what Mr. Jones came in contact, the Springfield.
I think that's an 03 model, I believe.
03.
But we've got to hold this up so this can be included.
That's like what Mr. Jones did, but I never had it. We didn't have that.
This was the first rifle that was used.
They used rifles started back in World War
I.
Yeah.
And so what is this? Kind of explain it a little bit to the public, because they don't know what this is.
Let him explain it. We didn't use that.
Okay, explain this. What is this portion?
Actually, it's supposed to kick the boat back.
Kick the boat back, and that come up and go back like that, you know.
And you put the shells in.
And you put the shells in here. Okay, and then this would be, of course, you know, the shooter. Well, you didn't have any sight on it, did you?
Right on the top of it.
Okay, so you go out and get like this?
Yeah.
Okay, and you can look through that little, all right. And so you did have a sight, all right. But, and it wasn't heavy either, it was made of wood.
No, that's the replica.
The real one.
That's a fake one.
I was about to say
Very heavy.
Okay.
That's 9 pounds Quran. That's what they give you. At least when I went in there, they gave you a 9-pound Quran, and that Quran can become 100 pounds if it's according to what they make you do. So I want to give you a little instance of when I arrived at night there at the base. And we went in and we were all in the hut, and they already had some guys in there, some recruits in there, and they was carrying them through. And they had one of them in there, and he had the Garand, and he was going up in arm, shoulder, and all. It sounds like a hazing or a punishment, like, you know. And if you stand up there and do that so long, you start trembling, you know. And he fell out, and my eyes got like that, you know. And I said, I know I was in the wrong place. So, but at any rate, it didn't really faze me in order that to make me want to quit, because during the course of the exercising that they give you, that's kind of toughen you up and it strengthen you in a sense. Because I was so dogmatic, because I have a light, weak voice. And I don't know how many times I was punched in my chest, like to sound off to make me to talk louder. But I maintain the same thing, and that would really kind of make them kind of, angry. So they'll give you some punishment. They either have you running up and down the company street that pulled arms like that. If a pack on, sometimes it might be a light pack or it might be a full pack. And you see, well, you can run up and down there. I've seen guys run up and down there until they fall out. But I tell you what, and one time, I would make them so angry until they say, "Go on back to your barracks, boy." They had me in the back. Sometimes the guys being there, the sergeants being there, they playing cards, and I'll be in the back of the barracks. "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir." My boys still maintaining the same. They get tired and they say, "Go on back," because all that was good to me, because I say, well, they ain't gonna make me quit. They ain't gonna run me out. So, but of course, there's some things that will make you quit though. But I tell you, there's nothing beats the training, and there's nothing beats the discipline. And that instills in you forever. With me, it does. So I never worry about much anything now.
Was there any particular mentors that you had, or were there any particular mentors that you had, or older people or people that have been there longer that kind of gave you hints and led you the right way or the wrong way?
The only older people there was the ones in charge. We call them DI, a drill instructor, and they was there to pamper us. They were there to make us do the very end of our stress. So, we were just boys. I was 18. At that time, you wasn't an adult until you was 21. So I was still a child. So they treated us as if we were children. They beat us if they felt like. But they wanted us to be Marine. And I'm proud that they wanted us to be a Marine. I, myself, are qualified in every discipline at the top. About 5 months, I had made corporal, less than just above 2 years, I made staff sergeant. So I qualified really in every discipline at top. I never had anyone to try to discipline me because I paid strict attention. So it was kind of easy for me to go through. You know, I seen others that was punished. They had a water tower there where they made or broke a boot. We were black boots. We was in boot camp, and we was black, so we was black boots. I know after boot camp, you know, you get a leave to come home. So I was AWOL. I didn't report back on time. The commanding officer gave me 30 days in the brig, the bread and water. I could eat all the bread I want today. Tomorrow I couldn't get all the food I want today. Tomorrow I had to get, only thing I could get was bread and water. Every third day I could get a meal. So I had to do that for 30 days. Because I was what they call AWOL. I was late reporting back after I'd been home on leave.
It was too good to come.
Yeah, then had a little I say about 4 or 5 foot, 4x4, something. All we had in there was a pitcher and a blanket. That was in the brig. So I stayed in there with that for them 30 days on that concrete floor. I had that blanket and a pitcher. But they'd take me out of there every third day, and I could go to the mess hall now and eat all the bread I wanted. Sometimes I just eat bread and holler and make the guy go back to the mess hall and get some, see? Yeah. And you could catch those ham sandwiches flying around. That wasn't funny, but I thought about it later years after and laughed, and I said, well, you know, I ate a lot of them flying sandwiches with that bread.
Well, let's change a little bit. What about some of the travels that you did while you were in the military? Some of the places that you were stationed and places that you had to report to.
Did you have a favorite place that you liked?
No, I mostly stayed in the States myself from Camp Lejeune there. I went up to Virginia, Little Creek, Virginia, then moved down to South America, down in Cuba,
Okay.
and Puerto Rico. This was in during the time every year they go down for maneuvers, you know, and training down in those areas. So down in Trinidad, Haiti, all around through there, and they would let us go ashore some of those places. But most of the time I didn't go overseas then.
Okay, some of the others, where were some of the places that you had a chance to visit? You on patrol or what have you?
Well, 1943, December the 11th, I was already in foreign waters. And the first stop we had was the Marshall Islands. And that's where I didn't participate in it, but I was aboard ship and saw the slaughter. And I prayed to God that I would never participate in such a slaughter. Nothing but young men we were segregated, and the most was getting slaughtered was young white children. Somehow, I was the first Black Marine to ever go overseas. And to be separated from the rest, it was 30 of us, to be separated from the rest, seemed like the end of the world. They called me by my name upon ship Rocky Mountain. And I heard the admiral of the ships said there was no Black Marine in the Marshall Island campaign. Couldn't say anything, but I looked at him and I said to myself, what am I? You know, but I met a white colonel, a Lieutenant Colonel Robert E. Hill, that come aboard to purchase me as if I was a commodity. And he said to me, it's nothing but to use a curse word that he could do about it, but he'll make sure that I always will be recognized as being in war, and overseas in war, in combat. And he made sure that I become a veteran of foreign war. I joined the veteran of foreign wars in 1944. But I went from island to island and engaged in battle, but somehow they never put it on my discharge. And I don't try to stress things that's not on my discharge. Mm-hmm. So I try to leave all that out. Yeah. But, yeah.
Well, going back to when you asked about in the training and firing, well, I was in a different type of outfit. Supposedly been a combatant outfit. For combat, we were trained. They had two combatant outfits, the 51st and the 52nd. The first time, the 51st they was using 155 cannons, the ones that they used in previous wars, and a lot of those they used a power pack to them. Those were big guns, and they was used more or less for seacoast firing at ships abroad. So they changed that and started using 90 millimeters for air and sea, because they could converse them up and down, to shoot out the range or to shoot up. So in these particular outfits these two that they organized, that was the beginning of, they had search radar, they had radar to begin with, which was new at that particular time, everything, the electronics coming on like the computers. And all of those, they had cables leading from those to each gun and aircraft guns. Well, I was an elevation man on a 90 millimeter gun. And the thing about it is this, we went into the Marshall Islands at the time, and set up gun batteries on Majuro Atoll. Was our particular battalion went to Majuro Atoll. And so we were supposed to protect that particular island because Marine air groups were flying off of there, bombing the Japanese down at Truck in the Carolina Island group. You know, although we would have occasionally a raid or two, but we never got into the real hard fighting like the guys who went in on the invasions. But usually there was other little outlying atoll islands around that sometimes they would form a search party and send you over there on those LSTs, no LCIs, because you didn't need an LST for that, just to go over to those little atolls to see whether Japanese had come on those particular islands. And so from that, the war was moving ahead of us, and we was following them. So we went into Guam, which was a much larger island, and at that particular time, they had stopped fighting in a sense. At least the war was over there, and they was moving on. But when you move on, it was just like some places that they passed, they still had Japanese still hiding, like in the caves and all. So that's when you had patrols. They would get patrols from each battery, and at various times, and you go out and look. Well, I witnessed my first Japanese. It was on a Easter. They brought one back. They had caught him because what they do when they bypass those particular guys, they want to survive just like we would want to survive. So if you have a supply dump or something, they wait and try to slip in and steal food, things what they can use, And there was two of them. They brought one back, and the way they brought him back, just like he was on a pole, like you would kill an animal, hanging, on a pole, And then they had a slit French. They put him in that and they burned him. That's the first time that I witnessed looking at a human just like burned, and the difference in the colors that they change, But I say, well, this is what we have to go through with. So, but at any rate, we moved up, and they used us at various times, not only for those little incidents like searches, but then they use you for like to guard or go and say like those ducks that go out. You go out in the ship and they'll load the ammunition on it, and then maybe you be riding with the driver and all. They carry it back up into the dump, where they supply, stack it up and all. So then those particular things, but you still have to maintain your defense of the island in case it is needed. But on the other hand, we moved from Guam up to Saipan, which is in the Asiatic Pacific. And from there, we was there until they dropped the atomic bomb there in Japan. And then, then things started lightening up then. So that's as far as I got. As far as up to Saipan. And from then on, after things started slowing down, and so we went down into, back down into the Marshall Island route to take up gun emplacements there for the guns that was left, you know, through there in the Quadrant. And then I had enough points to come home, you know.
Do you have any pictures of the cannons that you?
Yeah, I left my 90 millimeter home.
Okay.
But I got some stuff there. But here's my boot camp picture.
Oh, you have a book stuff there?
And that was platoon 345, Company A. Platoon 345, Company A.
And afterwards, we'll get a good picture of the picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has it, think.
And these are your drill instructors, and they were new. That's when we, you know, first went in the camp, and they hadn't been long made PFC. And one is he's from North Carolina, Durham, North Carolina.
That's where we went to school.
Yeah, his name is PFC Peace.
Peace.
Yeah, and the other one is this is J.C. Henry. He was from New York. This one here. They had recently made drill instructors. And so they wanted to keep their stripes, you know, so they was kind of rough on us. See, but on this place that I ran it, they had just started making these guys drill instructors. Just before then, it was all white. And those guys had been in the Marine Corps. They was old salts, what you would call. They had been to China and Nicaragua, all down in Central America. Their tours of duty before we ever thought about the Marines. And now I came into one of them on the rifle range. That was the last bastion of where they were at the rifle range, and they were there. So these guys had to just drill us up there, and that was it. Leave us at the mercy of them. And all of those guys, what they had up there, and some of them were big guys, 6 foot almost. And it was really intimidating in a sense, because they look you over and they pick who they want to, you know, train for that particular time on the range. See? So, well, I got my full of it, but I tell you, I had a hard time there for the simple reason is you can tell if somebody, I'm a good reader because in my training is aircraft recognition, because I was in aircraft, that I can look sometime at things and I try to look sometime beyond it and in front of it or something, you know. I don't take everything I see just like that. So this guy I can see, I see he must be don't like us. You know what I mean? This big old guy, he picked me to train. And so I was doing good because where I lived at, right here, not too far from where I lived at, just across 8th Street, it was all woods at that particular time. I used to hunt out there with 22 rifles, you know, and all. I was shooting, I know. But he was, well, consequently, I had to bear what he had to put on me, but at least to keep from going to Leavenworth, to keep from going to jail, you know, because what I wanted to do, I'm a grandmother's boy, and I didn't want to worry her, because she would have said, "What happened to you? What's the matter?" You know, because what I would have done would have been inappropriate, and it would have been wrong. It was against the rules and regulations. So I just took it. I bit my tongue. But however, this is what I say. With us staying as we had and the guys coming on after us, these guys what was training us there on the range, they only keep them there for a certain amount of time, and it all depends upon the gravity of what the service needed. And the guys were getting killed by the hundreds then. See, all over Europe and in Asia, in the Pacific. So they'll move them out and move probably a little bit. So that the same person would do you wrong, it could have been one of us that saved his life. You know? So, and I'm going to give you a case in point. What kept our group safe is because when we was down in the marshes, we had the Marine Air Group touring our target practice, and they knew what we could do. So when we moved up into Saipan, Guam and Saipan, and then at Saipan, they got ready for the invasion of Okinawa. We loaded all our equipment on the ship. And then after that, they had us on standby for over a week or so. Just doing nothing, you know, waiting. Finally, they pulled us out, at least in a sense. You know what happened? It was a group. But it was a group of white Marines that it was young boys he was bringing over from the States. They stopped them at Pearl Harbor to finish their anti-aircraft training, and they put them in our place. Well, that was to give them the exposure and to make them look good. Because I often thought, when I would see the war pictures going on, I say, I didn't see no blacks, you know, at all. But I don't care what you do. Blacks were there. But what you say, blacks were there. You know, in some capacities, you didn't know how they were serving. Because my buddy, we was in the mail service together, and he was in artillery. You know, we used to talk all the time, you know. And so, you see, this just the nature of this world or this country, in a sense, of how they think, see? But you see, by what we heard, because these Marine Air groups used to tow our targets and they knew our firing record. When they put those guys in and they had the invasion, I understand, and we got word that they said we were black boys because they was shooting down more American planes than they was Japanese planes, you know? Because I can remember when we first started and got out there, we used to have to sit in a tent, and it's hot, and you'll be in there, and they'll be flashing there 1/100th of a second. And then you got to recognize what you saw. You know, they throw back the flak with the tent. All right, you say, well, 3 planes. You don't miss them. Okay. All right. You don't listen to it, you know? See, that makes you, that just makes you good, you know? So that's the way life is, the way these people, they want to think, but we were there.
So we're gonna take a break after all that. After the war. Wasn't you guys really depressing?
I was in the street and all this, refrigeration and air conditioning, but I did finish New York Institute of Technology that was they put up those schools after the war in Washington. And I worked, when I was up there, I was living there for a little while. I worked with the fellow. In fact, I was staying there, and he had a shop in his basement. So I worked with him until I went into the mail service. Yeah.
Did you go to college? I heard you went to Tuskegee. You went to Tuskegee?
Yeah, that's Tuskegee.
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, I went to trade school. Yeah, because I was always a master with my hands. And I always loved to make pretty things. And wedding cakes, the finest of food being garnished, and take the hind quarters of a cow and bring out specific cuts like New York strips, even hamburger, stew, KC, whole host of others, T-bone steaks, whole filet mignon, a whole host of others. And I love to make all the sauces, princess sauce to Cajun to mine getting bad now.
Let it
go. I let it go. Let mine getting bad.
That's why
Mine getting bad.
you don't eat nothing. You go someplace, you ain't eat nothing.
But anyway,
You don't eat nothing.
I graduated as a gourmet chef. I know all the herbs, learned all the herbs, biochemists, herbalists, traveled around the United States giving AAA ratings to the biggest restaurants and hotels in the United States. So I really had a colorful life, not only in school. Tuskegee wasn't called a university at that time. It was called Institute, Tuskegee Institute. And Booker T's motto was, if you can learn, teach the black people trade wherein they can take care of themselves, then later on in life, they can become professionals and even president of the United States. Back there, he saw Barack Obama. So I read him as one of the wise men, and I'm glad that I had a chance to go to the Institute that he founded. He and George Washington Carver both were there. George Washington Carver was a remarkable man.
The peanut man.
Not only the peanut man.
Yeah, I know.
You name it.
Yeah, he's known as the peanut man.
When I was in school, we
Mr.
had,
Jones, did you attend college after the Marines?
But you've been a busy man. You've had a good life too.
Still here.
That's right. That's the good part of it.
That's good, I'm still here.
I was looking at that, Mr. Jones. But going back to you, as you were talking about the Tuskegee information, you and so many other people have been the backbone of us in nutrition. Because I have a background in nutrition too, in North Carolina Central, and we had to go in science, and it was terrible. And the chemistry, oh my Lord. But the point of it is we learned a lot of good skills that you use every day in life, especially with your foods and so forth. You know, how to be clean with your foods, how to handle your food, how to make a meal with practically nothing. We can make a meal.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we can do it. Yes. They used the term once with us, wind sauce and air pudding. Have you ever heard that term? Wind sauce and air pudding. That means we don't have anything for dinner.
Yeah, that's right.
Wind sauce and air pudding.
Okay.
And we're going to make a meal out of that.
Yeah, all
Wind
right.
sauce and air pudding.
Okay. All right. That's beautiful, I mean.
Good stuff, brother.
So I have a question until they get back started. So when you all were like doing in your training camps and stuff during this time, you know, kind of like in my research, I do sports history and I do a lot of that. And I found like at Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, they used to host basketball games. Were y'all familiar with athletics during your time in service? And
I hate athletics. My daughter have all kind of trophies, and her major was physical education. She run track and everything else. She got rings and everything in the bowling hall of fame. But me, I hate. Showing that I was a master with my hands.
oh wow! So you never played any sports, huh?
I hate.
he's a builder.
How many times?
What about you? What about
The
you all?
plaster and the cement mix. Oh my goodness, you're the AFL-CIO. Look at this.
Did you play any sports? Were you familiar with athletics during your time?
Just in the mule. Mm-hmm. Not because I was too small. Too small.
He said too slow.
I was listening to you when you was talking about the man was tall and they were picking out different ones.
What was the car? That was your the
Recorder has.
Yeah.
That looks like you right there. Is that you right there?
You done picked me up?
Is that you right there?
Yeah, that's me.
I think so. Someone put a picture of that there.
Yeah, that's me, all right.
Mm-hmm.
You
Right down the
look
front
right
door.
there, yeah.
But once we see each other, we know this is going to be small.
Yes, sir.
I cussed my high school coach out because he wanted me to play football. You big, I'm big, tall. You big old doggers, you down the black bar, don't want to play. I just going to play you so football because I'm not going to play now. Yeah, so he saw me and said, the only way you graduate from Stanford, that they burned it down.
Thank you. I've got it.
Let's put this one back.
I have it.
Okay.
Now,
Okay, so we're gonna,
get ready to do the second half, and then also I wanted to, we have something for your birthdays, but something for everybody. So you want to wait and do that after we finish the interview?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, now we have kind of general things about what's kind of going on today, but we want to start with what went on with you during the civil rights time? Where were you, and did certain elements stand out to you?
During civil rights time, I was really doing many things because I wanted to begin in every trade and master every trade that was in the building code. And I wanted to start from the bottom and go to the top, kicking down doors that the black person, I don't like to use the word black men because I also want to recognize the black woman. So I wanted to kick down doors where they could enter. So first of all, I was a chef cook. And being that I was already advanced in cooking, Tuskegee used me to go to different colleges and stuff to begin apprentice program. Then after I graduated from Tuskegee, I went and traveled around the United States, giving them AAA ratings for Duncan Hines, Howard Johnson. And also, after then, I went into Boilermaker and blacksmith in the shipyards here in Jacksonville, Florida. I was the first black machinist in the shipyard in the Southeast that they ever made. And after then, I went into the building construction. I helped build the National Airport. I was foreman over all the concrete. And then after then, I went into building for myself, building houses and renovating. I was a tile setter, carpenter. One of the things that happened in my life, we was building the International Airport, and I was foreman over all the concrete, and I had about 20 yards of concrete down on the ground. No lights, and the sun was setting. When you're out in the open, when the sun began to set, you can almost hear it fall. And night was coming on. And our temporary wired the airport to have light to finish the concrete. They like to put me in jail behind that. Yeah, but I did it. And the only thing that saved me was their foreman. He told them, I said, they call me Al. Al can do most anything. And when y'all mess up, you need somebody to cover it up for y'all. Now, if you put in a handle like you want to handle him, say he won't be here, he'll be fired. and you won't be able to cover it up for you. So they'd rather not charge me than anyway.
Yeah, they don't want to lose that usefulness. They don't want to lose your usefulness.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
So this comes to up with
We're gonna go to a ballroom.
okay, so you weren't involved in civil rights. So you weren't involved in any of the goings on in the civil rights, in the protests, civil rights protests?
Yeah, I was doing just about everything. I was trying to kick down doors for, you know.
And
I wanted to ask one question. When the GI Bill came out, and people could get housing.
I went to Tuskegee on the GI Bill.
You went to Tuskegee. What did the other two? Did you do anything on the GI Bill?
Yes, I went to school in Washington, famous coastal refrigeration, and I worked with a guy up there until I went into the railway mail service.
Okay. Did you get a chance to do anything with the GI Bill, Mr.
I
Thomas?
took up tailoring at
Tailoring?
under the GI Bill. But I found out I didn't like it after I finished it.
How about with your housing? Did you have any response through housing with the GI Bill?
Yeah, well,
I mean, you know.
Well, I got my first little house under the GI Bill, I believe, out on in Magnolia Garden. The first one they built out there, Carnation and Edgewood, 9 houses. They built that first, and they didn't start building anymore until about 2.5, almost 3 years. So we were isolated out there, and the lane of the road wasn't but a straight 2-lane, wasn't it? Well, it was a straight lane road where it was double you could pass. And to catch the bus didn't come down there. I had to walk up to the bus line to catch the bus to Avenue B.
So
and that was about stayed like that for about 2.5 years or better before they started building again out there. And consequently, that was the first little house I had.
Well, that's good. So you did get some response, some use
out of the
of it.
bill, yeah. And,
How about you, Mr. Gainey?
When I was from a little boy, I wanted to conquer poverty. So every dime that I made and every paycheck that I received from being in the service, I put it in the bank, wherein I could build myself a home. And after the war was over and I graduated from Tuskegee, I come back to Jacksonville because this is the only place I wanted to live. After traveling everywhere, I wanted to live in Jacksonville. And I was 24 years old when I built my home. And I never paid rent in my life. I never had a mortgage in my life.
What a life.
Yes,
So,
that is a blessing.
yes,
Did you do some of the work yourself for the house?
I built the house.
I can imagine. Yeah.
I built the house. Yeah. So I never cashed in on the building Yeah, what they call, they had initial for FHA.
FHA,
Yeah, I have,
housing.
yeah.
Oh, so you're still waiting, you can still get that GI Bill.
Huh?
You can still get another house then.
No, I had a lot of houses. I bought a lot of houses, sold a lot of houses, so I don't want no more property. You know, property, well, when I was young, property was the thing to have.
Yes.
But after black people began to own I don't want to use the word heap, plenty property, then the building code began to change. Then to have property was almost a burden. The tax code began to change. To have property was almost a burden. So I got rid of most of the property that I had.
But he still got some more.
He gonna have some.
He still got some more though. Yes, sir.
Well, Mr. Jones, anything that you want to add in regards to the GI Bill and the use of it for you and your family?
No, that's
Well, I know you told us about the tailoring.
well, that's about it. Other than that, I started truck driving and doing warehouse work and bought a home I've been living in for about 47 years.
Excellent.
Been married for 65.
Have mercy.
Got about, I can't remember now, but I think about 16 or 17 grandchildren down here.
God bless him.
5 great-grands. So I think I've been blessed pretty well along the way.
You truly have. Absolutely.
If I make it to February the 15th, I'll be, 87?
Just a young man in this group here.
Yes. You got a 92.
That's why I have to let him go first. You know?
Yeah.
I got McIvory first, and Gainous is next oldest, and I've come along behind him.
Gainous first old.
No, Gaines first.
McIvory the second.
I'm the second. I'm the cleanup man.
So Raj has a couple questions to ask you. Raj?
Well, I guess y'all talked about being in Jacksonville, coming back and settling in Florida, and we know that St. Augustine had its own civil rights movement. Did that wave ever come up to Jacksonville? That y'all was experienced what was going on?
During the time you talking about, I was too poor to think about it. St. Augustine. I was really in my later years before I even visited St. Augustine, because only thing that I could even imagine was to bring my people. When I speak of my people, I'm talking about my siblings and my mother out of poverty. So then I had to come back. My focus was to send my 2 sisters back to college where they could get a decent job, build them a home where they can have a beautiful home. And I built a rat base
One behind me.
behind his house. Yeah, right there, one street over, the 2 backs, fences are the same. And I built it for them and gave it to them where they have a place that they didn't look like they really come out. Maybe pronounce the word wrong, ghetto. So, I mean, my focus was on that. And my focus has been always on improving our life condition. So I had no reason to think about other things other than to improve our life condition.
If everybody else was thinking like you, wouldn't we be far ahead? We definitely would be.
Yeah. I say to myself, I will never let my mother live the way she had to live during the time. And I would never abuse a woman because they was very good to me. Yeah.
She's supposed to always protect the ladies.
Did any of you, either one of you, have something to say about the civil rights protests?
Yeah.
Well, during the civil rights protest here in Jacksonville, I witnessed it at the time because the days that the sit-ins, I was probably working, I'm mostly on the train, come in, but just one time that the protest started downtown, in the main part of the city downtown, and it gradually moved up into the black areas, wherein it was coming up into the little business areas, and all. But I had the chance to observe some of it, and I would say this: the wrong type of people. It was a guy named what's his name? He had a barber shop down on Hogan Street, where the Seminole Hotel was. What's that guy's name? But he was strictly a racist. And so when as a boy, I used to see him. I used to deliver shoes for a shoe repair at Harry Hendon down there. Now, it's one thing in my life, when I was growing up, I would not take a servant job as a shoe shine boy to the box. Mm-hmm. And, now, no disparaging, but waiting the table, I've seen people who waited tables, they taking care of their families. So there wasn't anything wrong with it, but it was just something I wouldn't want to do. Because I had a friend that, a friend of our family, he like a head waiter, at least of the banquet room. Mm-hmm. And so he used to say, why don't you come on, you work, you get your job. I say, I don't know nothing about waiting, man. And so he kept on, so I went out there and I just witnessed the people, how they was talking to some of the guys or something like that. I knew that wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. See? And so, but make a long story short, I just witnessed that this particular fellow who owned this barber shop down on Hogan Street, he was in the Seminole Hotel, and he was a racist. And so every time something happened, you would see him all out in front. So what happened, he made the bad mistake of coming up into the black section there, leading one. And the young boys, they put a whipping on him and his crew. See, they did. See? But he was out his league there, but it's just something I noticed. Once you can get along with anyone, but they won't attack you. They attack you if they have the physical size on you, one-on-one, but barely one-on-one. It's always 2 or 3 in a game. But with us, I don't care whether it's 1-on-1 or 2 or 3. You do what you have to do when you have to do. That's the way I look at it. But it's the matter of taking care of business at the time of whatever you have to do. You don't want to, with me, I'm peaceful. I don't want to hurt nobody. Don't tread on me. Tell you.
Well, I know during that time I witnessed some of it. And some of the civil rights movements were good and they were bad. Or see, a lot of times when you got people out there in the streets just out there want to make a name for themselves or enrich themselves or something like that, you know, they burn down neighborhoods, destroyed a lot of property and businesses and stuff in the black neighborhood, which the white people owned those businesses. But yet still, the blacks had to go to the business because there were no other businesses in the neighborhood. During the riot time, they burned them down. They went on out to the Avenue Mall and some places, some parts of Jacksonville now, you can't even find the grocery store. And places like that, see where the whites was doing the business, had the businesses, but when the blacks rioted and burned the place down, they moved out and left the blacks now. Some of them don't have transportation or to get around, they to go to the grocery store. So that's why I said it was, some of it was good and some of it was bad.
Well,
You got to use your head.
I saw the civil rights movement a little different because I'm a warrior. A whole lot of things in the civil rights movement I didn't believe in, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm not going to get down on my knees and pray while somebody's sick dogs shoot water holes on me.
Not me.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to march, but I'm going to try my best to make myself dignified, to be ready for anything that comes along that will help my condition be qualified. And I will never let somebody just spit on me.
Ooh,
and I can't hear them back. So I saw it's a little bit different. I believe in war. I believe in fighting fire with fire. So I saw it a little bit different. I'm glad in one way, and I'm sorry in another way, because it seemed as if because we didn't get it the way I'm talking about, we are going backwards instead of forward. That's it.
Well, everybody has their own opinion about things, but that's why I say it myself. That it was good in one way, it was bad in another way. We couldn't accept and go around like Jacksonville was here. You had a white fountain and a colored fountain in the city hall. down there. You go to drink out this white fountain over here, the police will jack you up, take you to jail. Everywhere you went, we couldn't even go into the restaurants like McDonald's and Wendy's and all those restaurants. We had a little side door cut in the hole in there. See, people, if you wanted something from there, you could go around there and they'd shove it out there to you. You couldn't go sit down at a table like this. I've seen all of this. So, we've come a long ways in the civil rights movements, and I appreciate Martin Luther King, and where we had some agitators come in here along with Martin Luther King that really upset the people, and next thing you know, they catch a plane, they're gone on away from here, and leave the people holding the bag for all this that they done destroyed while they was here. But yet still people say, so-and-so did so-and-so for, I'm not calling no names because I don't want no blame. But all of that.
So in that frame of society, when did you first vote?
Vote.
When I asked my stepmother once what was the best day of her life,
let me tell you something. Suffrage bill in the 1800 was to prevent black people to vote. Black people have been voting ever since then. They had the rights to vote ever since then. But when the South came along, which they was called the Dixiecrat, and the main capitalists they had, it was King Cotton. They didn't want black people to enjoy the right to elect a civil and national personnel, politicians. So then they began the Ku Klux Klans to stop black people from voting. But when I was a little boy, I remember our mothers voting Republican because that was all that we were allowed to vote in was Republican. If we thought about it, voting Democrat, we would be lynched. We was bullied out of voting, but it was our right always to vote.
But we didn't want to be a Democrat back in those days anyway.
No.
Democrats were the red shirts.
Yeah, that's right. They
in the South Carolina,
Dixiecrat.
those areas, you know. So we knew we didn't want to go there.
No.
So we had to be Republican.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, but we was voting.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Those that were able to get there to vote.
You had a poll tax. Remember the poll tax?
Yes, sir.
You had a poll tax. Yeah. And just like you said, the ones that was able, they would vote.
That's right, and most of them were landowners.
Yeah.
In order to vote, those that didn't have anything, most of them did not vote.
Yeah.
So there was still a separation right there between those that had and those that didn't have poverty.
I couldn't get a library card unless you had to have someone on the property.
That's right.
So my oldest aunt, she was the one. You know, in a family, you always have one more industrials and all, and the pushy, and the bossy. She was the one had the accumulation of the property. So she had to carry me to the little library. Our library wasn't like a regional library, big library. It was a small library. But anyway, she signed me, and where I could check out books, to carry home. And boy, that was the greatest thing for me, because I would leave them with 4 and 5 books, and I read them too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like that 20,000 League Under the Sea.
Oh, yeah.
I read Jules Verne. And I read that so long ago. All that was old news. When people started talking about it,
So it just seems like Black people as a society, we had that right to vote and we weren't allowed to vote. Then we got the right to vote. But this year we have less Blacks voting. What do you think about that?
What I think about it, Black people seem, I'm speaking from how I feel about it. It feels like we had more when we wasn't allowed to vote than we have now. We look at everything, but we at face value, but we would not look beneath the thing and see what it's all about. It seems like if we have a step backwards, because the candidates that they have up now is a disgrace. Both of them. It's a disgrace. Now, don't get me wrong that I don't want to see a woman be president. I see a woman be a president and see a woman be vice president. I'm all for that. But the baggage that each one of these people have on them, they ain't fitting to be in the White House to lead nobody. And Black people see that as if it's really useless to even go vote. So that's the reason for it. They have nothing to vote for. Really and truly, to go pull a lever? Huh?
Well,
just to pull a lever.
They did go pull the lever for Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
They did.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we went out there and voted.
Yeah, but you
were more enthused.
Well, there was a reason.
There was a reason.
Yeah, well, he was the first Black president also. But then he is a man of the people.
Yeah.
They said the difference between him and the other situation was that he went to all of the different counties within the state. Yeah. Whereas other candidates only went to certain key counties, the larger places, and they didn't get out there and shake the hands and walk and go to 20 people in an audience, but they wanted the big audiences, and that made a big difference.
But just look at what happened when they created the thing they call state rights.
Right.
They made sure that the 3 things that Black people will never be taught. The first thing is war. The second thing is business. And the third thing is making. So they will never be taught to do that. And even today, we can create things, but it will never come out that we created because we can't can't mass produce it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Can't get the patent either.
Yeah, that's right.
We go back to the continent on that one.
Yeah. So then, really and truly, even back before the Revolutionary War, things haven't changed very much for us. It seemed as if it has changed and seemed like we were really ahead. but we're still living in shacks. You can't compare a $200,000 or a $500,000 house from a person that owns a $10 million house. It's a shack to them. So we still are living in shacks. We still don't have the youth coming out of college and high school as it should be, because it's
They're all incarcerated.
Thank you.
not only being incarcerated, it also that on the streets of where they live, the community of where they live, the only employment there is crime.
And drugs.
Yes,
That's crime.
That's right.
yeah.
See, so that's was dumped in by the President of the United States himself to finance a war.
Thank you.
See,
Well.
So, Mr. Jones, what do you have to say about this last election and people not voting?
I don't know, I can understand it.
It's still puzzling, isn't it?
Yes, because I mean, we had two candidates out there. One seemed to be qualified, the other seemed not to be qualified to be president. So you had a choice. A lot of people that said, well, I'm not going to vote for either one of them. And Trump, naturally, I wouldn't vote for him because I don't like his style. He didn't show me nothing. He never showed me what all this stuff now he was talking on it. He got it. He's backing up off of it now, saying he might do this and he might do it. But all the time when he was campaigning, I'm going to do so and so. I'm going to, like our president over there, he got a lot of people up in West Virginia. I seen yesterday where the whole town voted for Trump up there. Because it's a coal mining town up there, see. They are out of jobs and everything, and they heard him say that he was going to bring jobs and stuff back up in that country, so that whole town voted for him. So people was misled on both sides.
That's right. That's right.
one thing I believe in that's most important than even voting, that every black man is supposed to build him a home, plant him a garden, and be a father to his children, and a husband to his wife. No matter what president or whoever come into power, if you have that within yourself, you can conquer the world. I believe that with all my heart, that black men are supposed to be a husband to his wife.
So we really have a last question, and we really want to know about the medals that you received, about your experience of receiving these medals after so many years. Mr. McIvory, can you kick it off? We want to know about the medals that are hanging around your neck.
Yeah.
Were you surprised when they decided to give these medals?
Well, it's from the first inception that between Congresswoman Corrine Brown and Senator Kagan of North Carolina, and also our public relations man, Mr. Gita, and our state representative, Tony Hill. Those people, along with lobbying the Congress, the different offices there. And I guess telling our story of the things that we had been through. So it felt like we were very neglected to a point, and we should have been recognized just like the Tuskegee Airmen and the Buffalo Soldiers, which was we should have been worthy of this congressional medal. And so I understand that there wasn't a nay vote. Everything was in the yea. And so it was really a delight to see and receive this medal. But most of all, what I really enjoyed, it wasn't just the medal, but just to see, of which I wasn't aware of, our young black participants then in the service, and the rank that they held, and things I didn't know myself. And until I received a book when they had a convention in Atlanta, there was at least 17 generals, black generals. And I didn't know anything about that. And then when I look at all the other non-commissioned ratings and stuff, I didn't know anything. Well, I mean, just walking around here and look, and within our organization, I look at our president there, and we got so many master sergeants, tech sergeants, all kind of sergeants, you know what I mean? Higher ratings, all up the ladder. And what I mean, I just stood there in awe, just to say, And then there was the young women, and it was just beautiful. And something I would never forget, I'll never forget it. And then, but they be telling me, you paved the way. But to me, I be feeling just good for them, yes. Just to see them and how they made it,
That's beautiful.
That's I just love to see them.
The Congressional Gold Medal. I don't know, but I don't think it have anything to do with military. I think this is the highest honor that they give a civilian. I don't know. To have the highest honor given to me that come from a second-class citizen to the highest person among the higher persons in the United States of America means everything in the world to me. The first time that I ever seen a black person be honored with this medal was Senator Edwards Brooks. I never dreamed that I would have the same medal hanging around my neck. And the second person I see with the medal placed around the neck was Hyatt. Just a while ago, I forgot.
Miss Hyatt? The
Hyatt.
lady?
Hyatt.
Hyatt?
Dr. Hyatt.
No,
Dr.
Dr. Hyatt.
Yes, yes.
I never
See, the
dreamed.
Negro women.
I heard of the Buffalo Soldiers. I knew some of the Tuskegee airmen. But I never in my life dreamed that it would be hanging around my neck. So I'm thankful to come from the bottom of civilization and now on top. I thank you very much. Thank you. Well, I say it's an honor for me to have a Congressional Gold Medal, and I appreciate it very much. I honor it and respect it, because like so many other people, I didn't ever think I would get one, but the reason I got this one, because I read the newspapers in the morning. Okay, so I didn't know anything about it. They had we were in line for the gold, Congressional Gold, until I read the paper one morning, seen where these guys was going up to Washington up there to meet the president and everything. I said, well, I was up there in North Carolina during that time too. So I came around here and talked to the post commander, and he told me, so yeah, so they meets over here. So then he gave me Ron's address and phone number, and I called Ron and told him that, said, look, I hear y'all those Montford Point Marines up there. Yep. So I said, well, I was at Montford Point from 46 until 49. So when I came over here and talked to him and everything, and then he got in touch with the people and took my paperwork from there and everything, and they presented me with the Congressional Gold down at City Hall here in Jacksonville. And I'm so proud and happy to be a member of Chapter 29.
Hoorah.
Hurrah!
Now, the second medal that you have around your neck is for Florida.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's the governor gave us these over at the armory out there.
Armory.
Uh-huh.
Snyder's Armory out
I
of.
just hope that you all are doing, you've done so much, but I'd like to see more of it to filter into our black men and black boys. They need to see you and to understand what you all have gone through. And we are hoping that what we've done here today will be a way to help get that information to them.
I understand exactly what you're saying. I understand exactly what you're saying. But it's so hard to get our people, our youth, to listen to us now. Because we are supposed to be example. As the song says, something seen and talk. This is there, but anyway, when they destroy the dinner table in the home and send the family out to Burger King and the rest of the restaurants.
Yes, sir.
Instead of the child looking up to his mother for food, for shelter, for clothing, and make him or her the very almost the second God in his life, then if you can bring back that, then you can go forward. But the jumps over that and think you can bring the youth back to the home or carry them to a university or college to learn something when they should have learned it right at home. Until that come back, then it'll be a different world.
You spoke well. Thank you. That's so true.
So I'm 92.
Today.
Yeah, and things, they're not gone, but they slip away from me.
Yes.
And I almost get embarrassed because they slip away from me.
Speak.
Yes,
speak.
There you go.
Well, we want to thank you today for taking the time.
And you know, of all the interviews that I had, that Ron brought before me, or anybody else, I seem to enjoy this group.
Yay!
Better than all.
Thank you.
And I thank you. And may the Lord of the universe continue to bless you.
Bless you too.
When I say you, I mean you, plural.
All of us.
All right.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean, you've just been so honest and straightforward with us. We didn't have to prime you at all. You know, sometimes you can't get information from people. You're just downright calm and you're telling the truth. So that's the part that's so good. Thank you.
Did you have some last words for us,
yes,
sir?
Did you have?
Oh, I just appreciate you all coming to us and giving us the opportunity to express ourselves. This is the first time, really, we've expressed ourselves before. We have had several interviews, but about four, to me, your questions really put us more or less at ease in a sense. You know, let us just talk, whatever, and maybe you can go through that and straighten it out. Because, you know, I understand that just like he have a pause, sometimes I have those pauses also. And I think we all are kind of on the lower level of expressions in a sense. But it's a thing with us. We just keep pushing. And but it's really hardening to me to see our young people, and especially the boys. Well, girls too, because some of them are. I just don't understand. But I tell you, I just want to just give you an accolade of what happened. Our president, he have a son in college, and he is the highest, what you can say, the acme of what a dad should be.
Oh, how wonderful. What a wonderful thing to say.
What a dad should be, you know.
You're the man.
He is very, it's nothing under the sun. I think he would move heaven and the whole earth for his son and keeping him straight. And it also, he's a very nice young man. And he was blessed to have a good family, you know. And which, now you take like me, coming up, I really didn't see my father till I was 12 years of age. But no, he was my father. But so my mother carried me up to the shop. She said, you know what I mean? Listen. So the thing about it has always been like a standoff person, whereby he wanted me to come up to the shop. Now, I guess he was going to learn me to trade. But first thing went in my ears, I saw a shoe shine stand over there. I ain't shining no shoes. You know? Because I just used to see the little boys down on the streets shining their shoes. But most of the time it'd be downtown, it'd be all the way, you know. And to me, anything that like was degrading or something, I never adhered to it. I would stay away. I would never let them push it on me, you know. So what we need, I try to talk sometime to the youth because our president, along with some of our other fellows, we've gone out to the high school, you know. That was one of our little implements of talking to the students. Yeah. And more or less, we have been to the senior high schools, you know. And it was so much until, I guess one of the professors, instructors, we turned around, he was trying to get us.
Yeah.
You know?
I was just thinking any military history class would just love to listen to you. Just fabulous stories and so heartfelt. I really appreciated that.
Y'all ever coming back to see us?
Well, yeah. You know what? We need to come back and see you because we have more questions we didn't ask.
We didn't ask everything.
We want to hear. I want to hear more exactly about what you did and why the white boys were dying. I want to get in that depth and how you were spotting. You know, I've watched some of those World War II movies.
All right.
Audie Murphy, one of you guys joined us for the team.
We're closing at 2:20 p.m. on Tuesday, November the 17th, 2016. We are in Jacksonville, Florida, and we have interviewed Mr. Alpha Gainous, Mr. George McIvory, and Mr. Leroy Jones, Jr. These are three men who have taken time to talk to us about the military life. We are at the American Legion 192. Our address again is 2179 Benedict Road, Jacksonville, Florida. Zip code is 32209. We wish to thank them for their time, their experiences for dealing with all issues that we've covered today, including discrimination, dealing with contacts of other people, and their work